name is Jack Farrick with Catchers U, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about pre-pitch movement and how it will help us frame more strikes. One thing that I've noticed and I've really focused on since I've become a catching coach is how to help my catchers become better receivers and make sure they're starting in a great position to have success. One way to do that is to make sure that their glove is in the correct position and relaxed and athletic so that we can always work our glove through the ball to the strike zone. Now, for a long time, there was one standard way in which catching coaches and catchers would think about pre-pitch movement, and it was the quarter turn, where we would give our target, and as the pitcher would come to throw, we would just kind of relax our wrist, right? Maybe our pinky would go down, our thumb would go up, and this movement was to create timing and also for us to be able to go from a stiff or non-athletic position to an athletic position so now we could move freely. One of the things that I've really enjoyed about recently when it's come to the new school or catching revolution as far as doing things different is pre-pitch movement. So what a lot of catchers are doing now is expanding on what a quarter turn was, which we said was timing and to get ourselves into an athletic position. So you'll see a lot of the videos that I have on some of my other social media, Instagram videos or TikTok videos, you'll see a lot of my catchers kind of starting with their glove all the way on the ground. This is a progression that we want to work to because obviously we don't want our glove to always start on the ground. We want to get to the point where we can have a good target for our pitcher, but then be able to work our hand or our glove in a position that's going to allow us to work back through the ball. So most hitters think about being inside the baseball when it comes to being successful with their hitting approach. Catchers, instead of being inside the ball, we have to think about being outside the ball. And the reason why we want to be outside the ball is so that when we're working our glove, we always want our glove working back to the middle of our body or, more importantly, the strike zone. So we always want to try to work on getting outside the zone to back into the zone. Outside the zone, back into the zone. And the most common, especially for younger ages, when we're not going side to side as much off the plate, where most of our misses are down, we're going to think about starting underneath the zone and then bringing it back up. So one thing that I want to make sure that I stress is understanding our goal here. Our goal is to get ourselves out of a stiff, unathletic position by having a target that's not moving, where I am locked up, to a position where I give my target and then I'm going to move my glove to where that pitch might miss, but I can still get us a strike. So if I'm calling at a younger age, if I'm calling a fastball and I'm calling it down the middle and my pitcher has a tendency to be down, I'm going to give my target and then allow my pre-pitch movement to go underneath the zone so that if that ball's where I want it, I work up to catch. If that ball's underneath where I want, I can still now, because I'm already underneath the baseball, work my glove to come back up. And I think that's something that's very important to understand why we're trying to do this. Because normally, you would have catchers 10, 15 years ago working on having a target, relaxing, having to recognize where the pitch was, get underneath it, and then bring it back up. Or slide their thumb underneath it and raise. Now what we're doing is we're kind of utilizing our knowledge, and that's why using notebooks like the Always Grind 365 are so important, because now since we know what our pitchers' pitches do, their movement, if they have sink, they have run, they have cut, if they stay at the top of the zone or the low of the zone, we can now use that information to make our best pre-pitch movement work for that pitcher. So if I have a pitcher who lives at the bottom of the zone and I want to make sure that I never lose a low pitch for my pitcher, I'm going to start at where I want the ball, and then I'm going to work my glove underneath and then back through. That way, I'm always putting myself in a position as a catcher to work back to the zone and help my pitcher out. Same thing as you get older and we start catching breaking balls and off-speed pitches and balls with cut, sink, and run. We're going to call those pitches and kind of understand where that ball is supposed to go, and we're going to make sure that we can get that best pitch. The example that I like to use all the time, especially when we're working on balls like on our arm side, is when we have, I call it the 2-2 pitch or the 2-2 slider. I want to always make sure that my glove is ready for that pitcher's best pitch. Even if Johnny, who's my pitcher, is going after the ball, is having a normal day and he's not really hitting his spots, or he's not, his stuff doesn't move as well as it does. For some reason, sometimes we get in those situations where adrenaline hits and then all of a sudden, boom, we hit that great pitch, we get that great slider, we get that great fastball that kind of runs off the plate. And because we kind of fall asleep and we've been working, and that ball's been here the whole time, we've been just working here trying to get outside that ball, now all of a sudden that ball's here. That's why our pre-pitch movement is always set up to get that best pitch, so that when my glove can work out, now I set it up, I get to my shoulder, that way I can work back to the zone. A lot of people will question as far as moving the ball too much. You want to catch and hold, you want to stick, We're not necessarily changing any of that. The only thing that we are doing is we are taking the normal catching position as far as how we receive, and we're trying as best we can to take it away from being the traditional two-piece movement where I quarter turn and then I work, or I get out, to anticipating where the ball should be and then making it a one-piece movement once the ball's coming. So I get set up, so instead of doing a quarter turn, let's say I call a ball and I know the ball's going to be low. Instead of going quarter turn, now I go low, the ball's thrown, so now my movement is one direction, ground up, versus being here, reading where the ball is, and then fighting myself to get back up. So really what we're doing is we're trying to simplify our path back to the zone. So the most common pre-pitch movement patterns that you're going to have as a catcher are going to be these four. On balls that are going to be down, you're going to allow your glove to go down, underneath the strike zone, wait, and then come back up. On balls to your arm side, okay, your throwing arm side, you're going to work on being able to go over, making sure that our web doesn't get behind our wrist if I'm going over. The only time I can do that, because I want to always make sure that my shoulder and my hand can work together, so that the only time I'm going to do that is if I go down and low and I want to get underneath the ball, maybe something with a break where I might want to get underneath and maintain my posture and come up. That's going to be a little bit more advanced when we're working on tunneling pitches with our pitchers on their off speed. So most of the time it's going to just be, especially at the youth level, this web's going to be kind of out. We're going to work over, then back, okay, and then we're going to work onto our glove side. We're going to work on keeping our distance, keeping that shoulder involved. That way I don't let my thumb get underneath, so I don't get my thumb broken. So I'm going to work on being over and then back through. And then the final one, which is one that I think a lot of us kind of forget about, is when we do elevate, when we do attack the top of the zone, or that's where our pitcher is. If my pitcher normally misses up, there's really no point for me to go down, right? Because that's not where I'm going to anticipate that miss. So he may be the one where I'm at the zone, or I have my spot, I want it here, but he's somebody that pitches at the top of the zone. I might just kind of roll my wrist so that I'm ready to go up rather than being able to go down. This is something that's kind of new, but at the same time, this is something that is being created, this pre-pitch movement, to help you simplify your path to your presentation to the umpire. Being quiet and the less you move, obviously, will be rewarded more by the umpire. This is just a way for you to kind of utilize your knowledge of your own pitching staff to help you get an advantage and simplify and be quiet so that you can steal strikes all day long for your pitching staff. My name is Jack Farrick with Catchers U, and I'll see you on the field soon.